welcome to your Thursday morning briefing for April 17th. Pretty quiet week coming up, all things considered. We're just looking at some minor river flooding, or not necessarily minor river flooding, but some rivers continuing to flood throughout the week. Precip of about around an inch over the next week, and there is some potential for severe storms Sunday, but that looks to be on the lower end of that potential. All right, so these are the rivers that are currently in flood or forecast to be in flood stage over the next week. It's only a few of them, and mostly centered around the Mississippi River area. So, and that will be up to moderate forecast stage. And we're not expecting, with the rain that's coming up here Sunday and Monday, and really throughout the next week, we're not forecasting the river to rebound up higher than what we have it forecast here right now. I know that is a concern for some of those folks who live along the Mississippi, so I just wanted to go ahead and put those fears at ease. All right, so next week, our temperatures are going to be fairly warm, especially before Sunday. Looking this weekend having highs in the 80s, mid-80s even. And then after Sunday, when that front comes through, and we'll talk about that here shortly, we're just going to have our temperatures drop a few degrees, 6 to 10, 5 to 10 rather, throughout most forecast sites, but we'll still remain within seasonal norms throughout the forecast period. All right, so this is the severe potentials that we highlighted on the first slide there. I do want to point out that the model resolutions have continued to show more or less unorganized dynamics, stuff that we're not really going to be, that doesn't look very organized, doesn't look very widespread, and it continues to kind of, for lack of a better term, back off and move towards that lower end of the potential. So this threat could be shifted and it could be adjusted as we move towards Sunday. So you're just going to have to, and folks are going to have to continue monitoring NWS Jackson products for updates on all of that to make sure that they get the latest and greatest information when it comes to severe potential. All right, so as that front moves into the area Sunday, I didn't really talk about the dynamics at play there, but it is essentially a weak front that's going to stall out through the area, through central Mississippi. And that stalling out, especially Monday, when those dynamics are going to be at their strongest for lift, we're going to see our greatest probability for precip. However, throughout the rest of the week, because that front is stalled through, we are going to see higher than background levels of precip probabilities. I do want to point out, though, that does not mean that we're going to have steady, consistent rainfall all day, every day. What this is really trying to capture is that there is potential every single one of these days to have some precip, but it hasn't really resolved quite down to the fine points in time to identify specific times that we're really going to have this rain or not. That being said, though, the entire rainfall that we're going to be seeing all throughout next week is going to be around an inch. So again, nothing too crazy. Just some scattered showers, throughout the week here and there. And that concludes my briefing. Just want to reiterate some of the major points here. River flooding continues. Around 1 inch of precip is expected over the next week, and there is potential for severe storms Sunday, late Sunday at this point. That potential looks to be on the lower end. So please monitor the latest products that we have sent out in order to get a more precise forecast as we move towards Sunday. All right, that concludes my briefing.